If you ever needed to change prices on, let's say, 200 products or add tracking numbers to 50 orders, or even tag a few hundred customers, you know the problem. The Shopify admin makes you do it one at a time. You can use the bulk edit, but it only covers a couple of thousands of items at a single time. So our two-way sync fixes that. Your Shopify data goes out to a Google Sheet. You edit it with everything spreadsheets are good at: find and replace formulas, fill down, paste from a supplier file. And once you're done, you can push those edits back to Shopify. This process is a two-way sync, like I said, but the only requirement for you is to first export the Shopify data into a spreadsheet, and then you can import the changes back. If you are looking to import some products that you already have from a supplier spreadsheet that has a specific format, they name the product titles in a certain way, then you can use our one-way import flow for that. This video is not for you. You can look for the one-way import video that talks about how to do it. Let's build our first two-way spreadsheet. There are two routes. First, if we go to our homepage under what would you like to sync with Google Sheets today, we will see different templates to select from. We can filter two-way, which are basically anything that is highlighted in green as editable. These are the templates that supports two-way sync. And also you can spot them when you click on update products, update order. That means that the templates are for two-way. So these templates come pre-configured with the right direction data set and sensible set of columns. So let's pick products, for instance, and click on create. The data starts to get populated and all the different columns for product are added into this spreadsheet. So this is the fastest way to create a two-way sync. What I'm going to show you now is how to configure it from scratch. So to do so, let's first delete this created spreadsheet, and let's click on the bottom configure spreadsheet. So the very first thing we have in this screen is the sync direction. We will go and click on two-way here, and then below we will see the different spreadsheets that, or actually templates that support this sync direction. We have three different groups so far: products, orders, and customers. And within each groups you will see a different template with different columns and filters. You can go through each of it to see what they do, but for now we're gonna stick with products again. And as you can see below on the third step, we have format data. We already see how this works on a previous video about one-way export, but the idea of this step is for you to pick your fields. My advice: include fewer columns that you think you need. Every column you add is another column to scroll past. So if today's job is price update, just export handle, title, SKU, and price. That's it. There are certain columns that are required and must be included always. And when you select a column that needs another required columns, both will get included. So as you can see here, some of the required columns are collapsed by default. So if you click expand, you will see the ID one, and let's click again, you will see the handle. And once you click expand, this will show on the spreadsheet. They won't be hidden, but by default they are hidden because most of the times you only want to update and you don't require the ID to do so when you are working a spreadsheet. So it's best to just keep it collapsed in that case. But again, you can add as many columns as you would like to update or to use as a reference. For instance, we can include a body HTML here. We can also click on manage columns and select many columns in bulk, so we don't have to go column by column. We can simply select many and they will appear right at the end of the preview. If we want, we can scroll, we can drag and drop the column where we want. Always click on preview to populate the different columns that you are added. You can rename a field here, for instance, unit price, total measure value. Let's say we want to name it measure value. You can do it here. Always, you need to configure the name of the headers in eCommix, because if you do it only on the spreadsheet, the next time you export, it will be overwritten, and also the two-way sync won't work because you need to have the mapping in the eCommix configuration for it to work. So also another thing to point out is that when you select a field, you will see that some of them are blue, others are green. Blue ones, it means they are read-only, like for instance, the product ID, it's read-only, and the editable fields are actually the ones that you can update their values here. So there are not so many read-only fields. Most of them are only IDs, but it's worth to know this. We can delete the column as well. Another thing that you can do uh, besides managing the different columns is to filter the export. So you can do it by selecting, for instance, the vendor here, say Puma, and we apply this, and we click preview, and we'll see how only one product with many variants exists for that particular vendor. Let's remove it for now because I want to see many more products for these examples. And again, you have different columns to choose from: products, variants. You can also update images for the products, and not only that, but also the meta fields. So all your custom fields that you create in the product will show up here, and the same is true for the variant meta fields. And not only that, you get to update inventory levels for the different locations your store supports, region catalogs. If you are working on different markets, you will see them right here. Sales channel, you can publish and unpublish a particular product from the sales channels you need to. So let's just click done here. And this part, the Google Sheet destination, is where you want your spreadsheet to be created. You can start from an auto-created spreadsheet. This is a default option, or you can use an existing one. If you have a spreadsheet where to keep not only this spreadsheet, but also other data that you need, it's best to choose this. And if it's already on your Google Drive, you can select it here and paste the URL using this format. If this spreadsheet is not under your ownership, you can use a shared spreadsheet. For that, the owner must give access to editor. It has to be publicly shared via URL, and then you just paste the URL similar to the other approach, and eCommix will get access to it to not only export the data but also import the changes that you do back into Shopify. So let's go with the first approach, the auto created on first sync. We can style our spreadsheet. I will go choose off for now, no style, so it's just the raw formatting. And then we can work on how we are planning to refresh the data. So we have two flows. First, let's turn it on, but we can choose exporting the data from Shopify to Google Sheets under a certain cadence, every minute, hours, days, or week, or we can get to choose import. As we click import, this pop-up will show up asking us, or actually warning us, that every every refresh that happens when you configure this, what it will do is to actually move the changes from the spreadsheet into Shopify. And this will go without human control, right? So if there is an update that happens on the spreadsheet and you configure it to run every day at 3 a.m., it will run and it will push all the changes that are in the spreadsheet into your Shopify store. So this is something to know. I will default it to export, and I will import by hand. So the rule of thumb is only reach for automatic import when the sheet fills itself. So if you have some kind of automatic pipeline, use import on the automatic refresh. So let's click on save. So all our products from the store are populated into our spreadsheet. This looks exactly as the one-way export. So we have moved data from Shopify into the Google Sheet. And as you can see, the formatting or the structure of how the products and variants are ingested into a spreadsheet is slightly different. And this is because we wanted to make the two-way sync behave exactly as the Shopify CSV uploader. And if you have used it before, there are certain rules that you must respect. And some of them, as you can see here, is that if a product has two variants, for instance, the second variant doesn't need to have the title of the product populated. So there are certain rules you must follow. We will see a couple of them on this video, and there is also a tutorial about how the structure should look like if you're planning to do certain things. So if you're trying to create a new image for a certain product, there is a structure that you need to follow. But yeah, again, this two-way sync has a structure, and one of the things that we cannot do is updating the headers, removing the ID column, for instance. You can change whatever is on the cells of the headers, like the tags, the type, but not the headers itself, because if not, the import will break. So we can start with one small change, like let's update the vendor to be vendor new. And as soon as we update this value, let's change to products, we will see how the rows background color changed to light blue. This means that these particular rows will be updated. That's the blue color. Green means it will be created, and red, it means that it will be deleted. So pay attention to the colors after you make a change, because that's the easiest way to know what will happen. But that's not enough. If you go to the end of the spreadsheet, we will see that there is a status column. This is not the product status, this is the status of the sync. And this is where you will see messages about validation errors, import errors. So it's good to pay attention to what happened in this column after we make an operation. And talking about validation, if we go back to eCommix, we will see this model open for the products. To get into that particular model on your spreadsheet, you can click on sync, and it will list all the different operations that two-way sync support: export, validate, and import in this case. And right below, we have the latest executions of the products spreadsheet, the one that we are working on, and it was basically just the manual export that happened at the time of creation. We have a warning here because it says that we are on the limit of our rows, so we need to upgrade. But we have 200 rows exported so far, and we can work under this limit. So let's go and click on validate. Validate will basically tells you what happened after the import is triggered before triggering the import. So it's like a dry run. If we go back to the spreadsheet, you see how the status column is populated, and it's telling you product will be updated, variant will be updated, and the same for the second product. So we're trying to update the column vendor here. Let's click on import now. We'll see the third execution for this spreadsheet. It's currently updating, and this is taking the changes that we did on the spreadsheet and impacting those changes into the Shopify inventory. So let's wait a couple of seconds or minutes. Okay, there it is. We go to the status columns and it says updated. Another way is basically using our Google Sheets add-on. As we saw in the previous video of one-way export, you can do everything from Google Sheets without having the Shopify admin open. So this is really useful if you have people working maybe on a warehouse or a different locations where you are running your store, and they can just open the spreadsheet and import inventory levels, import different things about your product orders or customer right from the spreadsheet. So again, you can do essentially the same. You can click on export to refresh this view with the latest products if new ones were introduced, or maybe the inventory levels have changed. And also here we can see how we have the automatic refresh, so we can configure it to be exported on a different frequency, like hourly or every 10 minutes, for instance. And you can update any other field that you see here. You have price, for instance, you can update, you can drag it so they impact different rows at the same time. You can use an adjacent column to use it as a reference for any calculations that you want to implement on price. This is something that you can do, for instance, change the price like this, or um, use any of the formulas that you have in Google Sheets. For instance, import range is a really important one because it allows you to import data from another spreadsheet. So if you have prices on a supplier spreadsheet, you can basically reference the spreadsheet URL inside this formula, and then it will bring all those prices, and you can map it through the SKU, for instance. So everything that you can do in Google Sheets, you can do it. That's why most people are running their operations from a spreadsheet. But let's say that we want to update a field that is not here. So let's update the inventory levels. For that, let's go back to eCommix. Let's click on the three dots, edit, and I want a field that allows me to update the inventory levels in my location. So let's say let's write inventory here, and we can see the different locations: custom service, location 2. I will go with location 2. I will click on preview, and there I have it. I will click on save, and because I'm adding an extra column, eCommix is telling me that adding this column might change what we have on the spreadsheet, because if we have custom formulas on the adjacent columns. So the next available column to the last field we exported next to the status column, for instance, we need one extra column, so it will be overwritten. So I will just click on continue, and it will basically save this configuration. It's telling me to export to update the spreadsheet. So I will click on export. Okay, it is exporting now. Okay, great. So the inventory available field is here on column D. And if we go at the end, something that could happen sometimes when we edit a spreadsheet again and again and again, some of the columns might get hidden. So it's always good to expand this. And as you can see here, it was the status column that it was hidden. It will work, but it's not visible. So this is only necessary to do it after an edit and only on rare occasions like this one. So yeah, we can go ahead and update the inventory levels here. We can click on import if we know what we are doing, and it will import those values. So yeah, this was basically everything I have for two-way sync. There is a different video about how to update a variant, how to update an image, how to create a product. You can also create products from two-way spreadsheet if you add rows below the end of this spreadsheet, and also images. But that's a different video, because in that video I talk about which are the different rules that you need to follow in order for the two-way sync to work. So go and check it out, that video, if you want to learn about that. Now, there is a last piece about two-way sync. If we go back to configure spreadsheet, we will see that we can also update other objects like orders. So let's go and create an orders template. We can see again that the green columns refers to columns that we can edit, like here, and the blue ones are read-only. We cannot change the order name or financial status, stuff like that. But the good thing is that we can update the fulfilled status, and this is why the orders two-way sync is mostly used for, and also the tracking information about the shipping. So let's go and click on save. So once it's exported, let's open again our Google Sheets add-on. And the most common use case for this is basically bulk tracking from a 3PL. So let's say that we have this particular order, the first one on row 3, that is not yet, it doesn't have a tracking information, but it's been paid. So let's just copy the tracking information of the company, and also the tracking information, the number. We can copy just to make it quicker. But after we run the import here, we will see how the fulfillment status for this order changed to fulfill. And also because we are updating tracking information and providing a tracking number, this will be sent to the customer via email right away. So this is really useful for warehouse. Once the item has been fulfilled, they come here, update the tracking information, and the status is fulfilled right away. There are other fields that you can update, like the tags. You can apply your own logic here, but basically anything that you want to add, and take a note about that fulfillment in particular. Again, you can validate, you can import, and all the changes you make on the spreadsheet will impact the Shopify. And as always, if you don't find the field you need on the templates, you can always edit the spreadsheet you just created, the one about orders, and you can come here to manage columns and see which other editable fields you can edit. By the way, you can always add read-only, and these are useful for reference, just to see, maybe the channel name of the order, the status URL. If you want to have it on the spreadsheet, you will be able to have it there, but you're not able to edit right now. But yeah, other useful fields are around shipping address. So if by any reason the user asks you to update the address, you can do it so from the spreadsheet or the billing address, and also meta fields. This is really important. All your order meta fields can be found under this fields group, so you can select them and include it into the spreadsheet so you can update it later on.